sweet name of Jesus. I'm glad I know him. How about you? Amen. This morning we'll be continuing on in 2 Samuel chapter 10. And we're still talking about an unoffendable heart. We're talking about the chamber of justice. Oftentimes when we are offended, the natural reaction is to take justice into our own hands. And I know my kids, if one of my kids pick on somebody, the other one's right there to pick back. That is our human nature, but that is not God's nature. We have a new nature this morning, and so we're going to be talking about that. We're going to backtrack a little bit from last week, so that way we get the whole picture, especially for the ones that were not here last week. So in 2 Samuel chapter 10, we'll be starting in the first verse. It says, "And it came to pass after this, that the king of the children of Ammon died, and Hanun his son reigned in his stead. And David said, I will show kindness unto Hanun the son of Henash, as his father showed kindness unto me. And David sent to comfort him by the hand of his servants. And David's servants came into the land of the children of Ammon." So here, this king had passed away. This king had shown kindness to David somehow. We don't know exactly what that act of kindness was. Maybe it was when David was running from King Saul. Maybe this king showed some sort of kindness to him. We can only really speculate. But this king had passed away, and King David wanted to show kindness unto his son. It's much like when someone passes away, we want to show kindness to the family members. We want to let them know that we're thinking of them and just bring comfort unto them. So this here was David's intentions, is just to show respect to this king's son that had passed away and shown kindness. "And the princes of the children of Ammon said unto Hanun their lord, Thinkest thou that David doth honor thy father, that he have sent comforters unto thee? Hath not David rather sent his servants unto thee to search the city and to spy it out and to overthrow it?" So here, these servants had misinterpreted what David's intentions had been. How many times have we been misinterpreted? Is we try to do an act of kindness, we try to show kindness. Maybe it's even when you see a brother or a sister in a fault. It's true. I love my kids, and if I see my kids messing up, I'm going to show an act of kindness, and I'm going to whoop their hiney. That's an act of kindness for a long-term benefit. They don't see it quite as that. But oftentimes it can be the same way with people. As you can see someone in a fault or something, and it's really love when you go to them. And so there's many ways that you could try to show an act of kindness to somebody, and you just be misinterpreted, and they think that you've come to do harm. So this here is where these servants have went to this king's, and the servants go to this king and say, David's servants, they're not here for good, they're here for bad. And then they go, and we'll just see what happens here. In verse 4, it says, "Wherefore Hanun took David's servants, shaved off the half of their beards, and cut off their garments in the middle, and even to their buttocks, and sent them away." And so here they were completely ashamed. They were completely embarrassed. Their clothes were rent. Their beards were cut half off. Beards, we were talking last week, are a sign of identity. They're a sign of rank. They're a sign of really just who they are, especially in the Middle East. A beard is very important to somebody. So to have half your beard shaved off would have been very detrimental. And we'll get to talk today a little bit. It takes time to grow a beard back. If Brother Doug looks like he has the longest beard, if we went and shaved off half of Brother Doug's beard, it's going to be a while before the rest of that beard has grown out. And how many times have we been hurt where it just takes a while for that healing to come to fulfillment? If somebody can hurt us, it'd be nice if we could instantly forgive, if we can instantly love them, but sometimes it takes time. And much like a beard growing, it takes time. And in verse 5, and this is where we'll spend most of the day today, says, "And when they took it unto David, he sent to meet them, because the men were greatly ashamed. And the king said, Tarry at Jericho until your beards be grown, and then return." And so where did David call these men to go is Jericho. Jericho means a sweet fragrance. You can almost say Jericho might be just the sweet presence of God. When David saw his men were ashamed, he saw that the men were deeply hurt. They were not deeply hurt for something bad. There was no bad intentions there, but they were still, his men were deeply hurt because these other servants took what they were doing was wrong. So in wisdom, David said, "Don't go to your friends and cause a retaliation." Now, I'm sure these here would have been mighty warriors. They likely would have came back to their military friends and let's go get revenge. They've totally embarrassed us. They've totally put us to shame. They've totally taken advantage of us. And likely those servants would have been, let's go get retaliation. Let's go get some revenge. And how many of us have been there? I can raise, unfortunately, I can raise my hands there. Is when you're hurt, oftentimes that's exactly what you want to do, is you want to take out a retaliation. You want to take out revenge. But David, in all of his wisdom, tells them not to go back, but to go to Jericho. Go to the sweet place and experience restoration. Allow the Lord to restore you. Allow the Lord to grow your beard. Most of us don't have big long beards in here, but we do have a heart. We do have a soul. We do have those deep pains within us that oftentimes take a while to be restored. Oftentimes when we get offended, we go to the wrong place. How many times when we get offended do we go talk to somebody? We go gossip about that person. We go to Facebook, and we've all read those posts where somebody has been offended, and they write a post just hoping that somebody else is going to read it. We go to the wrong place, and David realized that if they went back to their house, if they went back to their friends, if they went back to their family, that would have been the wrong place. They would have caused a retaliation. It's important for us not to go to the wrong place. Let's look at James chapter 3. James chapter 3, verse 16. This here is what happens when we go to the wrong place. In James chapter 3, verse 16, says, "Where envy and strife is, there is confusion in every evil work." So when there is confusion, when there is strife, when there is backbiting, when there is gossip, we literally open the door for the enemy to come in for every evil work. When you're hurt and you're offended and you go to your brother or your sister and you begin to gossip about that person, you're literally opening the door for every evil work, for every confusion to come in. So it's important that when we want to do that because that is our human nature. It's our human nature to want to retaliate. It's our human nature to want to express how we were hurt to somebody. But it's important that we do not take part in enmity and strife and gossip, because it will literally open the door to the enemy. That's what the enemy wants. The enemy wants us to gossip about somebody, and the enemy wants us to talk about somebody. We think that it might bring healing of some sort, but oftentimes it will do the exact opposite. It will bring more hurt. It's kind of like that snowball. You keep on rolling it, you keep on, it'll continue to grow and grow. If you say that information to friends, it's gossip. If you say that same information to God, it's a prayer. Think about that. If you've experienced hurt, if you go to somebody and tell someone what that hurt is, that there is gossip. But if you go to God, that is a prayer to Him. And it's only God that can do anything about it. God is the only one that can bring restoration. He's the only one that can bring true healing. Go to Jericho. Go to the sweet place. So if you can go through the process of regrowing your beard. It's a slow thing to regrow a beard, but it's a necessity. When we've been hurt, when we've experienced that heartache, it's important to allow that healing to take place. Oftentimes, hurt people will hurt people, and if we do not allow that healing to take place, it'll end up with a greater devastation, which we'll talk a little bit more about that. Stay there long enough that you can actually regrow a beard. It's likely not going to happen overnight. Every once in a while, God's grace and mercy, it can bring a miraculous healing to your heart after you've been hurt, after you've been offended, after you've been ashamed. But it takes time most of the time. It takes time to experience that healing. And it's important that we go to that sweet place during that time, that we go to that place where He can speak to us, that we go to that place where we're not gossiping or backbiting against the person. But actually stay there long enough where that healing can take place. Don't go to Facebook and make a post, but go to Jericho and make it a prayer. Amen. Make it a prayer. God, He's near unto the brokenhearted. I think oftentimes your greatest heartaches can be when somebody near and dear to you hurts you. It's when you experience that deep hurt, especially from someone you expect great love from, it can be very, very hard. But don't retaliate. Go to the Lord and make it a prayer. Brother John? Oh, you were just stretching? Yeah. You cannot fight a spirit with the same spirit. If somebody lashes out at you in anger or jealousy or whatever it is, we cannot lash back in anger. We cannot lash back in deep hurt, because you cannot fight a spirit with the same spirit. Jesus said He did not cast out demons by the prince of demons. He did not fight the enemies, the powers of darkness, with demonic powers. They might have they did accuse Him of that, but Jesus says a kingdom divided against itself shall not stand. And it's important that we do not fight the spirits that have come against us with the same spirit. So if you feel that when someone comes against you, if you feel that anger, you try to rise up. If you feel that bitterness, try to rise up. Don't fight back with that. Recognize it for what it is and go to that sweet place. Why? Because there's a lot of casualties if you don't go to that sweet place. There's a lot of casualties if you do not go to Jericho. David knew that if these men retaliated, that there would be much death. David did everything in his power to prevent a war with the Ammonites. A war actually did end up happening, but it was not because of their hurt. It was not because they retaliated. they ended up coming against David, but David did everything in his power to prevent a war from happening, because he knew that if his men went back and stirred up the other men, that there would be casualties. And it's the same way. If you take your offense in retaliation because your chamber of justice tells you to go seek out revenge, how many other people are you going to take down with you? If you try to retaliate, if you try to take revenge on the ones that have hurt you and get other people involved in your circumstances. How many times have we tried to reel somebody else in a hurt that we're experiencing? It doesn't benefit you, it doesn't benefit them, it just causes more death, it causes more heartache. So it's important that we do not seek retaliation and try to get others involved. You will take your offense, your wound, and they will make it their own offense and their own wound. When you spill something to somebody else, when you begin to gossip to someone about somebody else, especially if you truly love that person, you'll take that hurt. Oftentimes, the biggest problems I've had with somebody else is when they hurt somebody that I love. I never had a problem with somebody until that person hurts somebody that I love, and that person comes to me, and then I'm ready to take revenge with them. I think we can all be guilty of that. But it's important that we do not lay that upon somebody else, that when we are hurt, don't make our wound somebody else's wound. Don't make our deep hurt somebody else's hurt. Don't allow your cut to bleed on everyone else around you. And when you're bleeding, that can affect the people around you. It's important that we do not bleed on other people. It kind of goes back to hurt people. And it's important that we allow God to heal our cuts and heal our wounds so that we do not get blood on other people. But go to Jericho, that sweet place, and spend time with God and regrow your beard. Now let's look at the prodigal son. This prodigal son, he took his inheritance. He took everything that his father was going to give him, and he went away and he spent it on riotous living. He spent it on the harlots. He spent it on a good time according to the world. And he ended up in the hog pen. A hog pen has a different fragrance, doesn't it? You can smell a hog barn long before you can see one. And he had a different fragrance. He was not smelling the sweet place. He was not smelling a sweet fragrance, this prodigal son, but he realized that he was in this state. Then he said, I'll go back to my father's house. I'm going to go back to my father's house, back to that sweet place. He knew that where he was, it was not the sweet place. It was not a place of healing. But he said, I'm going to go back to my father's house, back to that sweet place. And he ran out and became a person he was not destined to be. But he went back to the sweet place and received a robe and a ring and his identity of a son. If you ever get into a place that that's not where God has called you to. I remember during that short time I was off to college, and I began to associate with bad friends and began to partake in the things of the world and drink the world's alcohol and smoke the world's nicotine. And I looked in the mirror and I realized that was not the place God had intended. I realized that I'd left the sweet place, but aren't you glad that God will allow us to come back to the sweet place? That He'll allow us to come back into His presence. We might get off track, whether it's over our own stupidity or whether it's just an offense that we have taken on. It's hard to have joy when you've taken an offense on. It's hard to have joy when you've been offended and you allow it to take root. But when you realize that you've ended up in the hog pen, the Father, we can be that prodigal son, and we can come back into that sweet place. For many of us, it's not to search out different relationships, a different place to work, a different place to live, a different place to go to church. Oftentimes when we've experienced deep hurt, oftentimes we want to run. We want to just go somewhere else. We want to just get out of town. We just want to find a new family. We want to find a new community. We were in West Virginia on vacation. They were just the nicest people in the world. And I'm like, Jenny, it'd be nice just to live here. All these people are real nice and friendly, and no one doesn't like us and no more again, as Pastor says. But that's not the answer to the world's problems. It might be the answers to the world's problems, but that's not the answer God has for us. It's not to go somewhere else, but it's to go to Jericho. Go into the Lord's presence. Allow the Lord to regrow your beard. Allow the Lord to heal your broken heart. God will honor your decision to go back to that sweet place. Whenever you choose to go to His presence instead of retaliation, He will honor that. He'll see that commitment. He'll see how He will honor your decision to go into His presence. Oftentimes you have every right to be bitter, but you have to choose to go to that sweet place. Each and every one of us have experienced things that were great hurts against us. We've experienced things that people have wronged us for no reason at all. But we might have a right to be bitter, but it's our choice to go into the presence of God. It's our choice to go to Jericho. It's our choice to go to that sweet place and allow God to heal us. Vengeance is not ours, it belongs to the Lord. You'll see that there in Romans chapter 12. Vengeance does not belong to you and I. Vengeance is not our place when somebody hurts us. Vengeance is not our responsibility. That is God's responsibility, and that there would be a heavy burden to try to carry out God's duties. So when you try to take vengeance upon yourself, that there is a heavy burden that will never come out good for our own sake. But it's important that we turn it over to God. Allow God to seek out vengeance. He says it is His, and oftentimes, all the time when we seek out vengeance, it ends up wrong and hurting more than it is productive. Nope. Especially, there's some things I think it's good to share with your spouse, but there's other things that it's probably good if it's just between you and the Lord, because I know that my wife can tell me things that have bothering her, and then it ends up affecting me as well. But we are one flesh as well. I think you can share things, Pastor. If you disagree with me, I think we can share our spouse a whole lot more things than the average person. But
I have learned not to share people's difficulty with my wife, and I don't because I don't want that burden to be on her.
mm-hmm.
As it that's mine to carry. I've learned the art of transference.
Mm-hmm.
Where I
heard the other day, what you feed grows and what you starve dies. Yeah, so if you have an experienced offense, don't feed it. And you can feed it by sharing it with whoever, but just starve it and it will die. As we finish up here this morning, so if you've been offended, just release it to God, which was just what Pastor was talking about. Release it to God. Go to Jericho and let the healing begin. These men here were wronged. They had no reason to have their beards cut off and their backsides exposed. But David, in all his wisdom, said, "Go into the presence of God. Let that healing take place. So that way you can be restored." And I believe that's the call for each and every one of us this morning, is that if we've been hurt, just go into the presence of God. Don't make it a post, but make it a prayer. And let God do what only God can do. Amen. Let's stand across the house. And Brother John, you want to close us in prayer?
Father God, I just thank you. Thank you for your word, Father. Thank you for the ability to pray, Father. Thank you for that line, never being busy, that you're always there for us, Father. And Father, I just thank you for Brother Danny and his teaching this morning. And Father God, I just ask that the word just to saturate into our hearts, Father, and into our minds, Father God, that we take it with us for the rest of the week. Father, I'm just asking for an outpouring of your Spirit upon this congregation, upon this building, upon our hearts and souls this morning, Father. Father, I'm just asking that you just have your way with this place today, that you just blow the roof off this place, Father, and Father, that somebody gets a healing today, that somebody showed up here needing something from you, Father, and this is a time that we set aside for you, and we're expecting that miracle to happen today. So we just ask all these things in that name above all names, in that name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Brother
Come on,
Sam.
Holy